We will be going live in exactly 1 minute. Once again, we will be going live in 1 minute. It seems like what can go wrong will go wrong, because right now I got start streaming and I don't know if we are streaming yet. So let's see what we look like. Are we streaming yet on the actual broadcast? Yes. I want everybody to stay tuned. We will be getting started in approximately 1 minute. We're just getting everything set up here in the lab. So give me 1 brief minute and we'll be getting started shortly. Looks like everything is going good so far. People are about to tune in. We are about to go live in the lab. And let's see where we are at. Okay, let's see. Camera looks good. Everybody's looking good. Okay, hey, this is Charles Blair, the Mad Scientist. As promised, I was going to give you guys a quick commercial. I'm just going to tell you guys, hey, don't forget to check us out this month at the Real Deal Meetup event on April the 27th. So we got some great information for you guys. I'm going to share with you some of my best bookmarks that I have in the business that you guys will need in order to be successful in your real estate business. So definitely tune in. I'm really looking forward to getting in touch with each and every one of you guys. It's going to be a lot of great information we have in store for you. Now, I want to bring this presentation to you guys today, this live broadcast, just to go over some of the things that we are doing right now in the business. And this is what I could call my Q&A session. And the reason why I call it that, because it's all based on questions and stuff that you guys have for me. That's what it's all about. What questions do you have for me? And we're going to go over a lot of things this morning. I'm probably going to last about maybe 10, 15 minutes at the most. But I'm just going to answer some questions that basically have come into me over the last couple of days. I'm going to also answer some questions from some of you guys that are actually listening in right now. So if you're listening in right now, make sure you have the opportunity and you go ahead and put those questions in there. I definitely want to hear from you. Add those questions to the actual comment section below so we can get your real estate questions answered as well. So keep this in mind. This is an open broadcast, so this is live, so be careful with what you're going to say. Okay, now the first question came from Bob. Bob wants to know, what are the things I can do to get real estate deals with a small budget? And that is a very, very good question. I'll tell you that right now. That is one of the questions that I was asked early on in my business. How do I do this business when I have a very small budget? The gurus will have you believe that you really could do this business with nothing. No money at all. As a matter of fact, the money you have, you don't even need it. You could have $1 million put in the bank and don't use it at all in real estate investing. That's not true. If you want to get started in this business with a small budget, there are certain strategies you can do. For example, like driving for dollars. You can do something like bandit signs. You can do Craigslist cold calling. There are several strategies that you can do. But keep this in mind. All those strategies that you do that we call guerrilla marketing strategies, they work. There's no doubt in my mind they work. We make them work. We've been doing them for years in my business. For those of you who don't know who I am, I've been in the business for over 30 years, full-time real estate investor, currently investing in 6 different markets, hundreds of rehabs, hundreds of wholesale deals. At one point in time, I was the largest minority owner of apartment buildings in downtown Baltimore. That company was called Mount Vernon Properties. So I have a lot of years of experience that I can say, hey, these are some of the mistakes I made. Don't make these mistakes. And this is what I've gained over the 30 years of knowledge of being a full-time investor in this business. Going back to the question, guerrilla marketing strategies work. They work especially well when you put a lot of time and effort into doing them. You have to understand and have the proper mindset that all these strategies work, but they only work if you're willing to be patient and actually implement them. And here's what I mean by that. What I mean by that is this. You have to understand that if you do a strategy, if you implement a strategy, that strategy will only work in your behalf, for your behalf, if you take it to the limit. Now, what do I mean by taking it to the limit? It's simple. What I mean by that is that you have to take that strategy and own it. Run with it like it's your own. And I want to welcome a couple of people in the broadcast. Torian, welcome to the broadcast. Jackson, welcome to the broadcast. So what I mean by making it your own, I mean that you have to eat, sleep, live, and breathe that strategy. Let's go back to the strategy of, like I mentioned, driving for dollars. It's a strategy that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it pays off. But you are spending money on gas. You're spending your precious time. So that strategy works. Bandit signs work, but in order to make it work, you have to take the risk of possibly being fined for doing bandit signs. So all of these strategies work. Cold calling from Craigslist posts, that strategy works, but you still have the actual time associated with the strategy. And keep that in mind with the right mindset, because every strategy you must have the right mindset and understanding that deals do not come overnight. I'm going to say that again. Your deals will not come overnight. Forget what the gurus told you, how you're going to be able to do a strategy today and make profit tomorrow. That rarely, if ever, happens. I'm going to tell you that right now. Also, Andy, welcome to the broadcast, my friend. I want you to have a realistic view of this business. So going back to the questions, what are some of the things you can do to get real estate deals with a small budget? I mentioned several of them already. Bandit signs is a good strategy, but please be aware of the issues of you can be fined not doing the bandit signs correctly. Also, driving for dollars is a great strategy to get leads. Also, Craigslist postings is a great strategy to get leads. Craigslist replies, Craigslist cold calling. Another great way to get leads is simply by speaking to people, going to the different meetup groups, going to the different RIAs, going to the different events, and just letting people know what you're doing and what you're looking for. I mean, networking and word of mouth is one of the strongest ways a person that have a very small budget can generate deals in this business. So you have to understand that it's not all about instant success. And you're not going to have instant success when it's a situation where you have a marketing strategy that is very light on cash but heavy on time. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, guys? Do you understand what I am trying to say? In other words, my question to you is, can you dig it? So, all these strategies work, but you have to put forth the effort in making them work. I'm going to say that again. That's one that really needs to be brought to the attention. You have to put forth the effort in making it work. I see Jackson says, yes, I know you can dig it, my brother. Yes, absolutely. So let's look at the mindset. Oh, for a second, let's talk about the mindset. We are so programmed into thinking that this business, you really have to expect success immediately. It's not going to happen immediately. Prepare yourself for the long haul. Those of you that prepare yourself for the long haul will be in a better position to take advantage of the market and what's going to happen in the market. But not to mention, you will be able to dwindle down your expectations to the realistic view. And the reason why I say that is because of this. You're not going to get a deal that first day. Most of us will never get a deal the first day we start doing this business. You may get a deal a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months after the fact. Most people get so disappointed because this business can be very brutal to them. I mean, very brutal. Matt, welcome to the broadcast, my friend. Thank you for joining me this morning. Ben, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for joining me this morning. So, when you keep in mind your expectations, put them on a nice, even keel level, you have an opportunity to really take your business to that next level. Now, what do I mean by that? You're even keeled. Your mindset is perfect, in the perfect position to take adversity. Your mindset is in a perfect condition to take bad situations that may come up, because they will come up. They always come up. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Got another question. This question comes from Manny. How did you get started in investing in different markets? Now, that's a great question. As a matter of fact, that's one of those questions that I gotta sit my head back and say, damn! That's a great question. Now, the reason why I say that's a great question is because there's been a lot of courses out there recently about how you invest in real estate in multiple markets. And that's what we're doing. My business is set in 6 different markets. We're currently investing in Maryland, which is my hometown, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Houston, Ohio, and Florida. Now, my main markets where we're wholesaling, rehabbing, buying, and holding and stuff is Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. Because that's where my ground base is at. That's where my team is at. My project manager, my real estate attorney, my actual contractors, and so on. They're in this base market, Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. However, in Houston, Ohio, and Florida, we have what we call virtual team members. So going back to the question, how do you invest in multiple markets outside of your particular area? There's a couple of ways in which you can do it. I'm going to tell you one of the ways you can do it, but I'm going to also tell you the way that we are doing it. So one of the ways in which you can do it is what you call the boots on the ground method. That's right, I call it the boots on the ground method for a very particular reason. And that is the fact that when you do that method, you actually got boots on the ground. What do I mean by that? You want to put a team in place in that market if you want to do it virtual, not virtual, you want to do it in a situation where you're working in multiple markets. For example, you want to have a contracting team already in that market ready to do your work if you're doing rehabbing and so on. You want to have your real estate attorney already on boots on the ground, sending you leads, looking at properties and so on. You want to have your title company already boots on the ground, ready to close your deals and so on. And then most importantly, you want to have you boots on the ground, going there, looking at properties, looking at situations and so on. And the way in which that strategy works, when you put the boots on the ground, in fact, give me some likes for boots on the ground. If you guys understand what I'm talking about when I say boots on the ground, hit me up with some likes. But in order to make the boots on the ground method work, you have to put the team in place. I mentioned 4 of the members just now: real estate attorney or title company, contractor, real estate agent, title company, I already mentioned that, and of course your financing, lined up and all ready to go, boots on the ground, ready to do your deals. Now, you have to scout that market. So if you want to work in multiple markets, the next part of that process is actually scouting the market and making sure it's a good area that you want to invest in. You're investing in the area for growth. You're investing in an area that has opportunities. You're investing in the area where real estate investors are actually doing deals. You're investing in the area where first-time home buyers are actually buying deals. So that's the areas that you're looking for when you're doing in those multiple markets. And you have your team on the ground ready to jump into place, ready to do these different strategies for you. Sadly, welcome to the broadcast. Gary, welcome to the broadcast. Hit me up with some likes, my friend. Hit me up with some hearts. I want to hear about those people out there. If you guys are out there, don't forget. You got questions. Leave your questions in the comment section below, because this is all about answering all of your real estate questions, like I said before. Now, going back to that, how do you get started with investing in multiple markets? The key point I mentioned earlier is putting a team in place already on the ground. You're going to, of course, research that team, make sure you got the best people involved in the team. And matter of fact, if you guys want a copy of my How to Interview Your Team Members report, in the comment section below, just put, "I want a copy, Charles," and I'll PM you or message you and give you a copy of my actual cheat sheet that you can use to interview your contractors, interview your actual title company, interview your actual lenders you're working with, and so on. It's a cheat sheet that we use in order to figure out how to hire the best persons. So in the comment section, just say, "Charles, I want a copy of that cheat sheet." So that's one way of doing it. Scouting out the locations virtually, or scouting out the locations by boots on the ground, going somewhere and doing it, and putting a team together, an agent, everything in place, so that when the deals come through, bam, you're right there in action, able to close it. That's one way of doing it. Now, the way that we do it in the markets that we're investing in, remember, we're investing in a total of 6 different markets. The main markets outside of Maryland, D.C., Virginia is the market of Houston, Ohio, and Florida. I think Jackson has a question. "I would like to interview cheat sheet." Great, Jackson. I'll give you a copy of the cheat sheet. So, how I'm doing it virtually, I have an actual, what I call the person or the company in place in those markets. In other words, I'm looking for, if I'm doing wholesaling in Houston, Ohio, or Jacksonville, I'm looking for the wholesaler that I want to work with, that I want to joint venture with. And then my company will do the marketing of all the actual leads, and then send those leads to that joint venture partner in that other city or state, and then we split the profits 50-50. If I'm looking to rehab in another market, I'm looking for the rehabbers in that market that are successful. I'm doing an actual joint venture agreement with those rehabbers. I'm sending those rehabbers the actual deals, the actual leads. They're closing the deals, and then we're splitting the profits 50-50. So I believe in working less, not working hard. I'm coughing on that one, so let me take a sip. I'm going to tell you that again. I believe in working less, not working hard. Can you dig it? So keep that in mind. I don't have any calluses. My days of working hard was 20 years ago when I started doing this business, and I was the one inside helping with the rehab, painting the walls, sleeping in properties, knocking down walls, demolition, and all that stuff. That was 20 years ago. Right now, my work is built around here. My business is built cerebral. It's not built through labor. So that's the way in which we run our virtual deal closures in other markets. We bring in joint venture partners in those markets, and then we actually market for the deals, the leads, and we send them to the joint venture partners who actually close the deals, and we split everything 50-50. I see Jackson, Baltimore, can you talk about purchasing tax sale properties? Absolutely, Jackson. I'll talk about that as well. So just closing down that whole loop on the question about investing in multiple markets, there's only two positions you can do this in. Like I said, number one is where you have boots on the ground and you're actually in that market on a periodic basis, closing deals and so on. Number two is use somebody else's company, have them do all the work when it comes to the deals, and you just provide all the leads, and you can make a profit sharing joint venture of 50-50 profit sharing and so on. Now going to the question that Jackson had, can you talk about purchasing tax sale properties? Now tax sales are properties, or should I say a strategy that I haven't really participated in, although I do participate in the process once the property is being foreclosed on from a tax sale. So I understand the question. The process really, Jackson, is very simple for Baltimore City. I believe that you can get about it's either 18 to 24% return on your dollar amount when you buy the tax sale certificate. And the process is that you buy the tax sale certificate. Once you purchase the tax sale certificate, the owner of the property has a certain amount of time to pay you that money that's owed along with interest rate. If that money isn't paid within a certain time frame, you, depending on where you're at in that process, could foreclose on the property. Now, most often than not, people are in the tax sale certificate game or the tax sale property game to get the actual high interest. Because like I said, that interest rate that you could get on buying that tax sale certificate could be as high as 18, and don't quote me on this, 18 to 24%, depending on which area of the country you're in. So the game for most people is to buy the certificate and get the interest rate on buying the certificate. Now, there's also another avenue where, in some instances, not all, but in some instances, you could easily not only get the actual certificate, but you could foreclose on the property and get the house. That's right. You could actually foreclose on the property and get the house. Now, that's not something that's very common. That's something that happens on occasion. And the way in which that happens is if the property doesn't have a mortgage on it, or if the person just don't care less about the property, or if the person is in a situation where it's a dying situation where they have a problem making payments and they just give it up. In those situations, you could foreclose on the property and actually get the property. So the way I like doing it, the way I love doing with the tax sale, is I like to deal with the tax sale properties when the person who has the certificate is about to foreclose on the property. Now, previously I talked about how a person could foreclose on the property. Most of the time when the foreclosure happened from the tax sale, if there's a mortgage on that property, most of the time the bank will pay the tax certificate amount that's owed along with the legal fees and along with the actual interest. The bank will pay that. Because think about it. What's the likelihood of a bank letting a $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 mortgage go into foreclosure and losing that mortgage through foreclosure for a $2,000, $5,000, $7,000 tax? It's very unlikely. But it do happen. I've heard of situations where it has happened, and that's a rare situation. So the play for me is to go after the properties when the tax lien certificate holder is about to foreclose on the property. Now, why do I like that? Because I'm not going to the situation where I'm going through that whole processing of foreclosure. I'm going to the owner and I'm saying, hey, your property is about to get foreclosed on. I can help you. Let me help you with this situation. Let me buy your property from you from this situation. because they were about to lose it anyway. So for the most part, Jackson, I hope that answers your question. So when we go into actual position of buying it from the homeowner to stop the foreclosure, we stop that foreclosure, we purchased the property, we paid off what money was owed. Now we have that property at a discounted price because we're only going after properties that's going to be a discount anyway. So now we've just created a great deal from that property just by doing it the way I just mentioned. Now, there are investors out there that do buy the tax lien certificate. They do that. In fact, there are corporations and hedge funds out there that buys thousands of them. But the main reason that they're buying the tax lien certificate is to get the interest rate that's due on those properties. I hope that answers your question. Now, let's go over the next question I have. Can you really do deals with no money? And that question came from Greg. Greg, I know what you're referring to. Excuse me for a second, guys. I got sort of a cold, but I just want to make sure I get on this actual Facebook Live to answer your questions. Can you really do real estate investing with little to no money? The answer to the question is yes, but it's sort of like a trick question, and here's why. The gurus tell you how you can make $1 million with little or no money in real estate investing. But what they're not telling you is if it's not your money, it's someone else's money. What they're not telling you is that even though it's not your money or someone else's money, you still have to put the time into the process. So how much is your time worth? Is your time worth $20 an hour, $10 an hour, $5 an hour, $100 an hour? Whatever that dollar amount that your time is worth, isn't that something that's of value? And I'm checking the other screens right now, guys, to see, make sure I'm not missing any questions. So isn't that dollar amount worth value? Shouldn't there be a value associated with that dollar amount? So yes, you are doing real estate investing with no money coming out of your pocket, but it's coming from somewhere. It's either someone else's money or your time associated with that transaction. Now, I'll take it to another level. Timothy, welcome to the broadcast, my friend. I'll take it to even another level. There are strategies that you can do, and we've done a boatload of them. Some of our mastermind students have done them as well. Owner-structured strategies, where you're actually borrowing all the money from lenders and money from family and friends, and you literally didn't put a dime in the deal, and you could walk away with thousands of dollars. I've had a mastermind student actually walk away, excuse me, with over $200,000 on a deal that she practically borrowed all the money for. Zero money out of pocket. So it is possible, but you have to have the right structure in place. But most importantly, here's the key. You have to have the right situation in place. Damn! That's what matters the most. The situation. And when the situation is right, good morning, Timothy. When the situation is right, man, all the cards will fall into place and you have the best, or should I say, the perfect storm. Now, next question. What are some of your favorite marketing strategies? And this is from Denise. Denise, I have several marketing strategies, and I classify them by online, and offline. And that's the key. You got online marketing strategies and you got offline marketing strategies. So this may take a minute. And excuse me, guys, like I said, I am suffering with a little case of the cold, but I wanted to make sure I have this Q&A session for you guys because I promised to do it for you this morning. Now, like I said, you have a combination of both online strategies and offline strategies. So what do I mean? Simple. Some of my online strategies are strategies that you probably are very aware of. I love doing virtual bandit signs. A virtual bandit sign is nothing more than creating an image, putting it on Facebook, and using that actual image of a bandit sign to generate leads from that actual bandit sign from Facebook lead ads. I also like doing Facebook targeted list marketing. Now, what do I call that? And what is that? That's the process of actually uploading a list into Facebook, creating what's called a custom audience, and then marketing to that list. For example, if you have a list of somebody that's in foreclosure, you can actually upload that list to Facebook, and every time that person that's in foreclosure comes online, they will see your Facebook ad about selling their property because they're in foreclosure. I also love doing retargeting. Now, what is retargeting? Retargeting is when a person goes to my actual real estate investing page. That real estate investing page, of course, is Chunky by Lucky Houses. And when the person goes to that page, and if they don't fill in the form on that page, what I would do at that point in time, I would retarget them to the point where my ad will follow that seller across the internet until they're ready to do business with me. We can have the ad follow them anywhere from 3 months, 6 months, or more. That's what we're talking about when I say retargeting. I love that strategy. And as a matter of fact, that's probably one of the fastest growing strategies in marketing. And it has been for years now. Retargeting. Online. I love scraping Craigslist for multiple strategies, such as tenant placement, rent to own, and guaranteed rent. Craigslist scraping is a huge strategy and a huge opportunity when you know how to do it right. When you have a dedicated person that's basically going to go out there and make sure it's being done right. I love Craigslist for that strategy. And we call it, really the actual term is what we call is directory scraping. So it's not just Craigslist, it's other directory sites as well, like Zillow, and so on, and so on, and so on. Huge opportunity on those different stripes. So if you guys are getting good information right now, hit those hearts for me, hit those likes for me, and don't forget, if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section, because it's not all about the questions that were sent to me. It's all about answering your questions today as well. Okay. Going back to what I was mentioning. Those are some of my favorite online marketing strategies that I like. I also have some great offline marketing strategies that I like. I love doing direct mail, even though people will tell you, oh, direct mail don't work. That's bull crap. I'm going to say it again. Direct mail works. You just have to know how to make it work in this day of age of cold calling. So do we do direct mail every month for the next 12 months? No, we don't. Because of the temperature that's going on in our environment through real estate investing, we don't need to do it for 12 months and keep that and incur that cost of that high marketing budget. The way we do direct mail now, we do it in conjunction with cold calling and regular voice message drops. So yes, we do direct mail. And some of my lists that we use for direct mail, of course, is probate. Of course, we like absentee owners. Of course, I like pre-foreclosures. Of course, I like inherited properties. Of course, I like distressed properties, distressed homeowners. So those are some of our lists that we use for direct mail. But we do not, I'm going to repeat this again, we do not subscribe to the principles of direct mailing someone or sending out letters or postcards to someone every month for the next 2 years. That's not how we do it. We do it in combination with cold calling. Which brings up the next marketing strategy, cold calling. I have a dedicated person on my team that actually make our cold calls for us every day. And that dedicated person's job is to get us and to generate leads from the cold calling system that we use. Now, what do we use to do our cold calling? We use a system called Mojo Dialer. And I have several scripts lined in Mojo Dialer that my team reads out when we're doing the cold calling, which is also integrated with our contact relationship management system, which is Podio. That's what we use to manage this whole process and manage all the actual deals and stuff. Now, just want to also repeat to you guys, don't forget to check us out next weekend at therealdealmeetup.com. We're going to have a great meeting next weekend. I'm going to do a presentation that I've never done before. So just head on over to therealdealmeetup.com and RSV your attendance. We will only have room for 200, and I think we already got half of those seats gone. Now, going back to my marketing strategy. Hey, Dwayne, welcome to the broadcast, my friend. Good morning. Hey, good. Thank you, Jackson. I'm glad you like this stuff, man. I'm glad you like it. Now, going back to what I was talking about with cold calling, why do I like it so much is the fact that it puts your business right there, front and center, with your face in hand, right there in front of that person on the phone. Now, I want you to think about this. There's only a number of ways in which you can get the conversion. Now, what do I call the conversion? I'm talking about close that person, get that sale. And these are the order in which those ways should be done. And what do I mean by that? Number one is face-to-face. If you can get face-to-face with that seller, that's your highest way to close that person. Number two is speaking to the seller on the phone. Why do you think that telemarketers still are making millions for companies and people are still doing it? Even after the age of the do not call list, it is still something that is extremely powerful and something that is working. It works. Now, what do I have to say about that?
Can you dig it?
I'm going to say it again. It works. However, you have to know how to make it work. Remember, number one is in front of that person, door knocking, getting there, talking to the person in front of their face. Number two is calling that person, being able to speak to that person. So if you have an active cold calling strategy as part of what you're doing in the business, you will have an active business. Ivy, welcome to the broadcast. Good morning. So that's the key. Doing this to the actual extent where you're doing it on a consistent level. So yes, cold calling is something that I love doing. We also do ringless voice message drops. What a ringless voice message drop is where you actually drop a voice message into somebody's phone without the phone ringing. And they're getting that message and now they're saying, oh, somebody called me about my house. Or somebody left me a message. Let me call that person back. That's what we call a ringless voice message drop. So that's a great way in which we get deals right now online. And those are some of my top ways that we're doing it. Of course, we have other ways. On average, we're doing anywhere between 7 to 10 marketing strategies per month. On average, we're cold calling anywhere between 8 to 10,000 cold calls per month. And like I mentioned, the tool that we're using for that is Mojo Dialer, and the contact relationship management system that I'm using to manage all of that is Podio. Earlier I mentioned, if you want a copy of my What to Say, How to Hire Your Team Members cheat sheet, just put in the comment section below, Charles, I want a copy. Charles, send me a copy, and I will PM you my cheat sheet on what to say to interview contractors, what to say to interview your title company, what to say to interview real estate agents, and so on to work with your team. Just put a comment in the comment section below, and I'll send it to you. Now, the next question that came from Larry. And Larry asks, how do I choose what to do in real estate investing. How do I choose what to do in real estate investing? Now, I think what's Larry asking me at this point is, I think the question is, what strategy should I choose? Which is a very good question, because a lot of investors get caught up in the latest and greatest strategy. And my whole approach to this business is, it's not about the latest and greatest strategy. It's about the strategy that best suits your situation. I'm going to say it again. It's about the strategy that suits your situation. Damn! That's what you should be thinking about. That's the question you should be asking yourself. Here's what I mean. For example, if you need quick cash, most of the time the strategies that you can do for quick cash is wholesaling. You could do some tenant placement. You could do some guaranteed rent. These strategies could generate quick cash. Now, if you're looking for large lump sums of income, you're looking at rehabbing. You could also look at rent to own. Now, if you're looking for passive or generational wealth, now you're talking about buying and holding. You also could be talking about guaranteed renting. All of these strategies have a particular outcome to the result. So look at the result that you need in your life and choose the strategy that best suits the result you're trying to achieve. I'm going to say it again. Choose the best strategy that basically gives you the result that you are trying to achieve based on your current financial situation. I had to take a pause on that one. That's the secret to being successful in this business. Or should I say, one of the secrets. And if, look, you see what's over my head right here? You see what I'm saying right here? While you are waiting for somebody else is doing it. So while you are waiting, somebody else is doing it. When you choose that right strategy, not going from new tool to new strategy to new action to new this to new that, but when you choose that right strategy, now you can accelerate your success. Now you can move to that next level. That's what I'm talking about. Now, Ivy has a question. Good morning, sir. I was told to me that in order for one to send text messages, you must get permission from the phone holders. How do you succumb that in order to use that strategy? First of all, I said a ringless voice message. I didn't say a text message. There's a difference. Ringless voice message has nothing to do with a text message. Ringless voice message is you're dropping a pre-recorded message in the actual person voicemail. Now, the key issue that you have there is what we call the do not call list. So the hurdle you have to do is make sure that the person you are doing this is not on the DNC do not call list. And that's where you scrub your actual list with the provider who you're using for your ringless voice messages. I hope that answers your question, Ivy. On another note, as the investor, you have to decide, do I go to the gray side or do I go to the white side? And what do I mean by the gray side? We all know that bandit signs are illegal, but some of you still wish to do it. We all know you're not supposed to send a text message to somebody who did not opt in, but some of you choose to do it. Now, risk versus reward. The reward or the risk for sending out bad signs, let's go with risk first, is that you could get fined. You're not going to jail. The risk of texting somebody who don't want your text is the fact that you are sending them a text message that they did not want. What's the worst that's going to happen? I don't want these damn texts anymore. Stop texting me. Risk versus reward. Keep that in mind about this business. You won't go wrong if you keep that in mind. Now, that was a great question though, Ivy. Thank you for the question. One of my favorite sayings is right above my left shoulder, as you can see it right now. That saying is, if you can be comfortable being uncomfortable, you can do anything. I'm going to say it again. If you can be comfortable being uncomfortable, you can do anything. And that's true. In this business, that is so true. Learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay, Timothy said, I send it until they ask me to take them off the list. I agree with you, Timothy. That's one way of doing it. Sending it until they ask me to take it off the grid. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the broadcast, my friend. I appreciate you being on this broadcast. Now, remember, guys, if you have any questions, we're down to our last 10 minutes. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Please don't hesitate to put those questions on the actual bulletin board so I can get your questions answered. Please, 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 please don't hesitate to do that. Now, the next question is, Charles, how do I find people I'm looking for? Hey, Tony, welcome to the broadcast, my friend. Heart it up, like it up, give me all that good stuff. I appreciate it. Charles, how do I find people I'm looking for vacant properties? And that's a great question. That's something that I had a challenge with years ago in this business. Was how do you find the owners of these vacant properties? And there's an actual detailed process that we use in my company, Chunky Buy Lucky Houses. And this is that process. One, the process starts off with us going to the neighborhood, looking at the properties. We determine, okay, this is a property that we want to find the owner. We've knocked on the door, and the person doesn't live there anymore. The person is gone. So step one in how we find those individuals is we go ahead and we knock the neighborhood. We knock on the doors to the neighbors that's next door, both sides, across the street, and everything. We knock on those doors and we ask, hey, do anybody know where I can find the owner of this property? Do you have any information of the owner of this property? Now, the reason why we do that is because the first place where you can look to find the owner is the neighbors. More likely than not, they know the situation and they know what happened. But you have to identify yourself to them as somebody that's looking to buy that property to beautify that neighborhood, as opposed to, what is that, a bill collector? Hey, is that the police looking for them? So identify yourself and let them know exactly who you are when you're knocking on those neighbors' doors. That's the first step we do. Remember I told you, this is a multi-step process that we do in order to find the owners of vacant properties. Step number two you can do is once you've checked the neighborhood, now you go online and see what the tax record says as far as the ownership. Is there a different address? Different from the property you've been knocking on, different from the property that you found to where the person is living at right now. Because sometimes or the actual tax assessment office, they may have the current address as opposed to the address where you have at the property. That's number two. Now, if that information is still the same and the person doesn't live there, number three is what we do. You can use free searching services like PIPL that will give you the opportunity to look up individuals for free. Or whitepages.com. that can give you the opportunity to look up individuals for free to see if you can find a current number for that person. On PIPL, you may even be able to find a social profile that's linked to that person. Next, you want to check paid searches that you could use for skip tracing to try to find that person. So that's 4 ways right there. Now, number 5 is a service like TLO. TLO is a skip tracing service that detectives use in order to find people. Individuals can use them as well. Mortgage brokers use them as well. Different real estate companies can use them as well. But it's called TLO. And that's another great way to try to find that owner of that property. And last but not least is we will hire a detective that will actually skip trace that person. Those are 7 different ways that 7 different things you can do, depending on nothing, meaning money-wise, going all the way up to hiring somebody to find the person. And of course, we would only do the latter if we knew for a fact that that was a deal that we were looking for. If we knew for a fact that that opportunity was perfect for us to find that person, the perfect quiet storm. That's what we do in order to find vacant individuals or vacant owners who own the properties that are vacant. Remember, guys, if you have any questions, we have about 5 minutes left on this broadcast. I've been going for 1 whole hour answering your questions. I would love to invite you guys to come join us next Saturday at the BWI Hilton from 9:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. 3 hours at the Real Deal Meetup. 100% free, all content, no BS, and no gurus allowed. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I am going to refresh the screen one last time to see if there's any questions that I missed. Remember, if you want a copy, if you'd like to get a copy of my how to interview contractors, how to interview how to interview your virtual assistants, how to interview realtors, title companies to work in your company, please put your information down there on the actual screen and you'll be getting a copy of that. One of the questions is, how many RVMs do you drop? Like I said, we do RVMs. It depends because it's based on what was the first outcome. And that was a great question, Big Bro Realty. That was a great question, guy. We don't drop an RVM until it's a second or third touch. And what do I mean by that? The first touch is usually a phone call. The second touch may be a text message, or the second touch may be a second phone call. The third touch would be a ringless voice message drop. So it's not a matter of how many do we drop. It depends on where we're at in the actual sequence of contact with that person. Now, once we drop it, for example, if we've spoken to the person, we may do a ringless voice message drop once a month to that person. But we spread out between ringless voice message drop and phone call. It depends on the situation. Is this a person we've talked to before? Or is this a person we have never talked to? That's what predicates whether it's a ringless voice message drop and how many. Okay, Ivy asks, let's see, Gary and 2 other people joined. Got you. But I think it's Bliss. Bliss asks, is there a company you can use to find VAs that already trained? There's a couple of companies out there that you can use to find VAs that are trained. My best way of doing it, also, my friend Bliss, is the fact that I'm looking for individuals that's in these different services, for example, like Fiverr and Upwork, that are already used to working with real estate investors. And I can't recall what the actual VA company was, but there is an actual VA company out there that specializes in dealing with real estate agents and investors. Now, as soon as I can look at my notes and find out what that company is, I'll send it to you, Mr. Bliss. But right now, where we work with our individuals, our VAs, is we train most of them ourselves because we have all what we call the standard operating procedure for all the work we want them done. And once we give that person that VA of what we need to, that actual video of what we want them to do, or we give them a white paper to tell them what we want them to do, we put them on a trial basis in terms of working with them. So yes, we do look for individuals that have some experience, but that's not really the main thing that we're looking at because we have a process in place that trains the individuals. But there are opportunities where you can have, where there are companies that are out there that will come with individuals that's already trained. But also, like I mentioned, when you go to the different sites like Get a Freelancer, like Fiverr, like Upwork, and so on, you can easily put in your actual job description the fact that you want someone that's already used to or already trained in working with real estate investors, and you will only get those individuals that will come in your direction. Great question, Mr. Bliss. Great question. Let's see, is there any other questions? Guys, you are really kicking it live this morning. I didn't know how many people we was going to have on there since it was 8 o'clock in the morning, but I'm glad all you guys tuned in. We have another 5 minutes to go to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Remember, if you want a copy of my VA cheat sheet that tells you what questions to ask, put in the comment section below. Charles, I want a copy. I got another 4 minutes to go. Is there any questions out there? Thanks, Charles. I want a copy of your scripts. You will get it, my friend. I will PM it to you shortly. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you guys for spending your precious time with me today. I don't want to say going once, going twice. I'm just going to put up the actual slide that says, put those comments and questions below because we only have 4 minutes to go on this actual broadcast. Now, let me bring up a question that a lot of people don't ask. And that question is, Charles, what would you do first to get started in this business? That's easy. That's an easy question for me now because I've been in the business for 30 years. That's why it's an easy question for me now. But I can understand those of you who are asking that questions who've never done a deal, who've just picked up a book, went to a seminar, or went to a meetup. I can understand that question. The first thing that I would do, and it all revolves around mentoring, I would make sure that I had the time and I was willing to put forth the effort to treat this like a business, meaning this decision of doing investing. First of all, I don't like the term of an investor. I love the term of being a transaction engineer. But for the sake of the conversation, I'm going to say investor. I would make sure that you are ready to treat this like a business, not like a hobby. Keep that in mind. Real estate is a business that requires attention, that requires you to participate on a consistent level, to be in it. It's not a hobby where you can put it to the side and do nothing and expect something. That's not how it works. So when you make that decision to want to put on your investor pants or your investor skirt, make sure you're ready to treat this like a business. That's what matters to most. Or should I say, that's what matters the most. Now, thank you again for tuning in. Remember, I look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday, April 27th at the BWI Hilton. Head on over to, in fact, I'll put the ticker up on the screen. head on over to therealdealmeetup.com to go ahead and RSVP your attendance. This is Charles Blair, the mad scientist, and I am signing